What's going on, everybody? It's just another day in the kitchen, back with another episode, and today's video takes us back 5 years for the release of Playboi Carti's second album, Dielit. Now, in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the now legendary merch, along with his now legendary Neon Tour. Now, 5 years ago, Carti did drop one of my favorite albums titled Dielit, and my favorite songs off of it are probably Long Time and Love Hurts. And let me know what yours is in the comments, and while you're here, you might as well go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. And before we go ahead and dive into this video, I have covered some controversial Playboi Carti merch in the past, so I will go ahead and link these videos in the description in case you're interested. Now, while I was doing my research for this video, I did ask myself, why is this album so good? And I did find this compilation clip of the Neon Tour, so I'm going to go ahead and let it speak for itself right now. Now, in case you couldn't tell, Carti's tours have been lit for years now, and although the first time I saw him was all the way back in 2017, I can say that the man has only gotten better with each show. Now, as you can see, this is some of the Neon Tour merchandise that was available for this tour, and this tour was actually announced after the Summer Dielit tour. One thing I wanted to point out about the merch that you'll see throughout this video in support of both of the tours is that you could see Carti's influence and vision all the way back in 2018. He's always been influenced by a type of rock, skater, metal aesthetic, and you can see these early satanic pieces also referenced back in 2018 when he was kind of transitioning away from that whole hypebeast era that he initially started with. Now, like I mentioned, the Neon Tour was announced after the initial Dielit Summer Tour, and it was still, of course, in support of the Dielit album. Now, you can see some of those kind of satanic or Satanism related themes, which I think is interesting, given that this was still before Carti had kind of transitioned into this whole vampire aesthetic that he has now. Now, one thing I think that is always super important that I point out in every single one of these merch videos is that it's always important for an artist to be seen wearing their merch. And as you can see from the previous photo, Carti was wearing one of those pieces right there that was available from $50 to $55. Now, all things considered, back in 2018, that might have been a little steep. However, it is very consistent with the price of a lot of pieces nowadays. And given that this merch did drop at his shows exclusively back in 2018, I did want to point out for reference that if you think that they're hard, kind of like myself, and you want to get your hands on them today, some of them might be a little bit more costly, like this piece running you about $250. Now, one of the more iconic pieces and themes that we saw throughout the actual tour was this piece right here featuring the splatter on the smiley. And nowadays, this type of tee on StockX will only run you about $70, which isn't so bad. Now, something I also wanted to point out is that Carti did also have some pop-up shops that were available in Miami and I believe also Los Angeles and maybe New York ahead of the release of Dielit, which was, of course, in support of the album. Now, he is wearing a pretty questionable t-shirt right there, and this was a collaboration between the brand Alchemist. And as you can see, you do have that imagery of Carti floating up there that's, of course, featured on the album cover of Dielit. Now, one thing I did want to point out about the actual Dielit album merch is the fact that I couldn't actually find any online. You know, your boy's always able to find these websites, and I do have a lot of archival footage, but I don't know that any of these pieces actually dropped online. So even to get your hands on something as simple as this album art on a t-shirt, you had to actually go to these pop-up shops or attend either the Dielit tour or, of course, the Neon Tour. Now, for those of you that weren't able to get a clear image, these are some of those pieces that were part of that collaboration with the brand Alchemist. And yes, that does say Cocksucker Blues on that t-shirt. Now, for a better idea of what the actual merch quality was like, I did want to feature this piece that was one of my favorites from the actual Neon tour. One thing I did want to mention while doing my research on Reddit, I did see a lot of comments mention that a lot of these pieces from these tours felt super cheap and that they felt like they were printed on Gildan quality. Now, unfortunately, that wouldn't surprise me, but I did want to show you that these graphics are holding up surprisingly well, given that this was actually screen printed a whole 5 years ago. Despite the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of merch available and I didn't find any actually available online, I think that there are some memorable pieces from these drops, and personally, I think that this whole metal aesthetic is super hard. Now, if you made it this far in the video, let me know what you guys think. Carti's been one of my favorite artists for several years, and his transformation has definitely been interesting to watch. Like I pointed out in this video, you can see his early beginning with the kind of rock influence that we've now seen as a staple of his aesthetic throughout the last few years, and it was a treat to see him on the last Dielit tour. Now, he does have a tour that's upcoming, and I hope to see him in Orlando this upcoming January. As always, guys, let me know what you guys think in the video and who you'd like to see me cover next. As always, thank you so much for cooking with the kitchen. Please stay safe out there, guys. It's lit. Straight up and peace.